Recognition.
Madam Speaker, I rise for a parliamentary inquiry or a series thereof.
The gentleman will state his inquiry.
Madam Speaker, am I correct that House Resolution 755 was passed by vote of the House on December 18, 2019?
I will not respond to the gentleman about a measure not currently pending.
A measure not currently pending. Additional parliamentary inquiry, please.
The gentleman will state his inquiry.
Since House Resolution 755 passed on December 18, 2019, and the motion to reconsider House Resolution 755 was laid on the table on that same date, December 18, 2019, is there any action the House of Representatives can now take on House Resolution 755?
The chair does not respond to hypothetical questions.
It's not a
Does not respond to hypothetical questions.
Additional parliamentary inquiry.
The gentleman will state his inquiry.
I am not inquiring hypothetically. I may wish to take action. Is there any action currently available to a member of the House in regard to House Resolution 755?
The chair does not issue advisory opinions.
All right. Is further parliamentary inquiry?
His inquiry.
Is House Resolution 755 currently within the bosom of the U.S. House?
The gentleman is stating a parliamentary inquiry about a measure.
The gentleman is stating a parliamentary inquiry about a measure not currently pending on the House floor.
I thank the Speaker. Additional parliamentary inquiry.
The gentleman will state his inquiry.
Since 21 calendar days, 12 working days, and 7 legislative days have gone by since House Resolution 755 passed the House, and the Speaker of the House has not been physically able to deliver House Resolution 755 to the United States Senate, does Clause 8B 3C of Rule 1 of the House Rules automatically cause a vacancy in the office of the Speaker, or what action does the House need to take since the Speaker has not been able to physically do an essential part of her administrative duties as the Speaker of the House?
The gentleman has stated the form of Clause 8B 3 of Rule 1. However, the gentleman is not stating a parliamentary question within the purview of the chair at this point. The gentleman is free to consult the rule and its accompanying legislative history for further clarification.
Thank you. Additional parliamentary inquiry.
The gentleman may state his inquiry.
Reviewing its parliamentary history, I would ask the chair, is there any precedent, other than incapacity, of a Speaker not timely transmitting action of the House to the United States Senate?
The chair will not issue an advisory opinion.
The
chair is prepared to entertain up to one more parliamentary inquiry.
I appreciate that. Additional parliamentary inquiry. I'll take my last
The chair
one.
may state his inquiry.
The Rule 8B3C says that an incapacity, a physical incapacity to do the job of Speaker causes or may cause a vacancy. I am asking if there is any precedent related to that rule that the Speaker can direct me to, having found none on my own.
And the chair will again respond.
Chair will again respond that it will not issue an advisory opinion.
I respectfully disagree that it's an advisory opinion and thank the Speaker for her indulgence. I yield.
The chair will